But I looked at 270, it's down by.
Oh, was it?
I'm gonna have to send him a thing.
You just gotta buy drinks at the
I'm
conference.
not gonna get back. At
That's
Prestige,
just typical when you.
at the front of Prestige.
Oh,
Yeah, they got, so I would talk thank you event.
What's that?
will take place
She missed me,
Wednesday,
she has to buy
May
drinks
4th,
at the
1 p.m.
conference.
You hear us?
I'll forward it to you.
I was like, I don't know
Good.
that I'll go to the Iowa specialty ribbon cutting.
And it's at the Prestige facility.
It came up on, okay.
And you're gonna have gonna talk and then 4:30 will talk. And we talk. Just say a couple of things. I think it's about how we fared.
Yeah, I worked on it.
How we fared coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
How we fared coming out of COVID or something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can read a couple of things.
Okay, cool.
When's the Iowa specialty thing?
So you just get up and just,
Thursday,
you
I
can
think.
do like, if you like, you just get up and say, well, I'll be like John Hawkins and like, here's 3 words.
I've never
and
gone
see
to
you
one,
later.
but I'm off on Thursday.
Oh, are you? Do you know what time it is? Are you looking?
Yeah, I could take care of
Hey,
that.
Pat. You
I
like
was
that?
especially.
We saw you. Yeah. Yeah.
4.
How long does it
All right.
Okay.
Usually like right at 4, they do the ribbon cutting and you can sit down and mingle if you want.
Yeah.
Unless they have some other things, unless they like have some like talk or something.
Okay.
I gotta think about it. I know, I wanna go, but it has dance rehearsal.
Okay, how many you got? What do you, how much are they?
Yeah,
What are they?
so I could maybe have it ready.
How much are they normally?
Yeah.
They usually don't take long.
Yeah.
I can't
I have it
remember.
ready and then I just go, then I can just take her at 4:30.
Like June.
Oh, for the ball?
July. This one was from July 2020. Yeah, this is
Just
from.
curious about it,
April.
John.
Just curious.
Found that myself.
Could you throw it out for me, John? Thanks.
What do I get for 100? I gotta get you 25, is that what you're telling me? Hmm. Yeah, we better.
Yeah.
There you go.
You heard me here.
They look like we're paying you off. We're paying you off. Council meeting, saying bad things about me. Keep it on the down low. Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll call the council, May 2nd, city council meeting to order. Call the roll.
Abby Hansen.
Here.
John Hawkins.
Yeah.
Megan McFarland.
Here.
Matt McKinney.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1, petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. No more than 5 minutes per person, except in case of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. You want everything? Cindy, do you want to come up? Just come up to the podium there and you can give a rough idea of what it is you.
As some people know me as a small business owner here in Webster City for a number of years. I've depended on the labor forces of this community to keep my business going. And believe it or not, I was around when Webster City decided to vote that they should take over the utilities. Some of the people argue with me in the past about sun, wind, even manure energy. We all know that the wind blows around here. They have, their basic argument was, we sell that to other states. So what? Who gets a profit? The people who have rented their land and the people who own the windmills. They get the profit. And as business owners, they decide what to do with it. But with public utilities, they have offered us tax incentives on the wind power of 100% for the first year, 70% for the next 20 years for putting up wind. Solar, it's known, if you put solar up on your property, obviously, you're not the one that is renting the land. So therefore, you get a cut. Webster City, we know, have land. The parks around Webster City. We have one very nice one that is got solar lighting. It's got the oldest building in town that I think, you know, I think that's true. With solar. I don't understand why we cannot be competitive as a town, as a community, to match or at least give the local residents a break on their utilities. We need to invest. I've heard from years, we have needed to invest. Town folks have argued that point. We need to go with the future. Wind power, solar, whatever it takes to be competitive in our utility rate charge. Thank you.
Yes, Cindy.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thanks for the information packet too. Okay, item 2, minutes and claims. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, we consider it in its normal sequence on the agenda. Have item A, minutes of April 18. B is a resolution on payroll for period ending April 23 and paid on April 29. And C is a resolution on bills and the fund list. Approve the fund list.
Move to approve A, B, and C collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Item 3, general agenda. A is a recommend approval of issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following. 1 is a renewal of a Class E liquor license, Class C beer permit, Class B wine permit, Sunday service for Casey's store, 1828 at 1300 2nd Street. And 2 is a renewal of a Class E liquor license, Class C beer permit, Class B wine permit, and Sunday service for Hy-Vee store at 823 2nd Street.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
By the way, are these on? Are we here, right?
No.
They're not? Okay.
Yeah, they are.
It is. Huh? It's the one. Wow, that's got heat in it.
All right. Everyone here's my turn. Because, you know, because there was some audio issues last week or 2 weeks ago, right? And if those
Well, I
don't-
think we're having them again tonight.
Are we having them
earlier,
again?
but they're controlling it from in the other room, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not controlling it here. Okay, B is second reading of an ordinance of repealing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 34, Article 4 pertaining to offences relating to minors within the corporate limits of the City of Webster City, Iowa.
This one and the next second reading of the next ordinance is all in changing the legal age to what the state has as the law.
Seems the state changed it a few years ago.
Yeah.
We
Better
didn't
catch
correct
up.
it.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item C is a second reading of an ordinance repealing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 12, Article 2 pertaining to businesses within the corporate city limits of Webster City, Iowa.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. D is a resolution amending terms of employment for the city clerk.
Just basically what we discussed in closed session and compensation.
So you'll get your
Effective January 7th.
Yeah, he'll do that.
pay increases retroactive.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item E is a resolution directing the publication of gross wage salaries for full-time and part-time city employees for the calendar year of 2021.
It's an annual requirement that we have to post the salaries of our employees each fiscal year. We generally try to do it roughly at the end or the beginning of the fiscal year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item F is a resolution authorising the city manager to accept the bid from Iowa Plains Signing to complete centerline painting for the fiscal year of 2021-2022. Brandon. How are you tonight?
Yeah, so we are actually in our third year of our 3-year contract with Iowa Plains Signing for centerline painting. We received a letter of cancellation a couple weeks back. The reason for that was due to the price hike in paint, material, and equipment, just as like everything else that's going around, all the prices going up. So after receiving that, I did go out and do a 2-month contract just to get us through the end of this fiscal year. And that came back with Iowa Plains Signing, getting the low bid on that. We received 2, one from Weicker Contracting and the other one from Iowa Plains.
Yep, it's a cost, way things are right now.
Yeah, I should have known, last year, the painting that we do in-house for our crosswalks, all that stuff. It was hard to even get the paint to even get that job done, so.
Well, even the cost of fuel for each truck driving around
Yes.
through the roof, so. Yep. Okay, call for motion.
So moved.
Thanks. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Item G is a resolution awarding agreement for the 2022 concrete crack seal project. Didi.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The item before you is a bid we put out back in September of 2021 for the concrete crack sealing project. We didn't receive any bids. Originally, we had bid it out as SUDA spec, which means they had to route the cracks, basically take all the dirt out and then seal it. We believe that's why we didn't get any bids. So this time we kind of left it open for the contractors to give us some methods that they would prefer. Both of them preferred to use essentially like a high pressure blower to blow everything out and then go in and seal. Originally, they didn't give us much information on their method, but our bid does say that we can waive informalities in the best interest of the city. So in this case, we thought we could go back and ask for more information, and we did. And both of them came back with that information. We went ahead and did our selection review, and the selection team voted for Denko Highway Construction Corporation. We felt that they had the most complete package. We did check references. Everybody that has worked with them had really good things to say. So we're confident that they'll be able to perform the crack sealing project for the concrete. And they came in at $1.25 per lineal foot. This contract will not exceed $50,000, and they are estimated to be done, I believe, by June 15th of this year. So.
Call for motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item H is a resolution authorising and approving purchase from Strucken Rentals LLC of Lot 5, Home 4th Edition in Webster City, Iowa.
So this one is another item that's coming back before you to formalize it. Back in December, you guys did approve a option to purchase agreement that we had on this lot. This particular lot is going to be utilized for the force main route for the wastewater treatment plant. So this is just the formal acquisition and authorization to purchase and close escrow this Friday.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item Thanks, Petey. Item I, resolution authorising the city manager to award contracts for the tuck point repair and exterior painting of the senior citizens building. Good evening, Brian. You were quick.
Yeah. So with this project, originally this year in our operating budget, we were supposed to have the senior citizen building painted. When we went out to take a look at the building, we reevaluated and some tuck pointing needs to occur for the health of the building. So we had a contractor that has previously done work for the city come out and take a look, and he gave us a preliminary estimate of $17,000 to fix the main issues that he saw, plus an additional around $6,400 to paint the building. So what we are asking is if the cemetery has a GIS project of $20,000. We are currently holding off on that project to reevaluate to possibly go a different route for the GIS. So we were asking to transfer that money over to help cover costs on this project. And then also to send out bids and go ahead with bids as long as they're under 28,000.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, cool. That's cool.
Call for motion.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Brian. Item J is a motion setting time and place for a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for May 16th at 6:05 PM.
This is just setting the time and date for amendments to the budget, and having that budget hearing. The amendments were outlined in the memo, and Doty will be here at the next meeting during the budget hearing or the hearing to actually go over in detail any questions you may have.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item K is a resolution setting time and place for a public hearing on a proposed sale of city-owned property located at Albert's Addition, Webster City, Iowa, for May 16th at 6:05 PM.
Hi, so this is another item coming back before you. I think it was back in February when we officially acquired 909 Harding Court, and our building inspector did an analysis of this property and recommended that somebody could rehab this property and either resell or turn it into their home. We did receive bids on April 26th. The highest bidder was Mitchell Hansen at $23,000. They did provide their abatement plan and their plan for the property. But in order to sell the property, the city does have to hold a public hearing. So we're requesting that the council adopt a resolution to set that public hearing at the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item L is a resolution accepting the goal-setting session summary report prepared by Callahan Municipal Consultants LLC for Webster City, Iowa for 2022.
So roughly a little over a month ago, the council met with Pat Callahan of Callahan Municipal Consultants to go over our goal setting session. The staff also met with Pat earlier in the day to go over their recommended items and to consolidate those, which the council went over. Ultimately, the council identified some of the key priorities. But before identifying the key priorities, there are also some items that we refer to as given items, which means projects or initiatives that are going to still be moving forward based off either regulatory requirements or things that have been in the works for a couple of years. We got the draft report back from Pat Callahan and we went through it and we provided some commentary to provide some perspective on some of those items specifically. We can go through them in brief order right now. Some of the givens, they start off with and has performed a lead service line inventory and establishment to replace the plant. This is in order to meet a new EPA requirement. The EPA refined or revised, I should say, their lead and copper rule. And so there'll be a little bit more stringent testing requirements of the inventories within the city limits, as well as it would appear that the EPA will move forward with requiring replacement of those lead service lines within the community. So that plan will likely be to be met by October 16th of 2024, unless the EPA further extends that. One of the other givens that staff has been reviewing and working towards is reviewing and revising our credit card policy and as well as our Amazon purchasing policy to conform to recommendations and commentaries we've received from the city's auditors. We've used the same auditing firm for the past few years, and they've noted in their commentary to staff of the need to update our policy to reflect best practices as well as new requirements just to maintain the appropriate security and control measures. The third given item is to update our employee job description. We talked a lot about organizational development throughout the organization as we're navigating some retirements as well as some upcoming retirements in the near future. And we've just seen a number of employees that have come on board with the organization. As we've started to go through some of these opportunities that have come open, we've reviewed our job descriptions, and it's just a continuation to continue to do that across the entire organization and update those. The fourth item was the completion of an incentive program for obtaining water and wastewater operator licenses above the minimum required. For our water and wastewater operators and some of our operators on the distribution system under Brandon's crew, they're required to have a minimum license for that area. Part of us trying to maintain more redundancy within our personnel as well as we build a new wastewater plant, the supervisor will be required to have a higher license. So we wanted to provide an incentive for employees to have dual licenses and be able to have that cross training and cross operation functionality between the two. So that's something we're working towards. The fifth item, and this is updating the zoning code as needed. Last year, the city wrapped up our comprehensive plan that also included a housing study. Typically, the format is to complete the comprehensive plan and then take the recommendations or findings from that and to update the zoning code as necessary to either update definitions or to incorporate new concepts or amend the zoning districts to either add or remove certain uses based off the comprehensive plan's use. The sixth one is the update of our emergency plans. The last plan was most recently updated in 2019, but as we reviewed some of the current plans as well as new latest additions such as the transition from analog radio to digital radio, our emergency plans need to be reviewed and updated accordingly, as well as just to further beef up some of the areas to provide more clarity and ensure continuity of services across our various services, utilities, and our public safety departments, fire and police. The seventh given was to explore the creation of emergency backup location for police dispatching that includes both radio communication and telephone functionality. We talked a little bit how with our dispatch for the police department, they're able to transfer that dispatch capability, the radio components that is to another county, to Wright County, if I remember correctly. But there's been a question in terms of how seamlessly the telephone functionality can be transferred and be able to be maintained by another agency. And so this would look at that and ensure that we have that reliability moving forward. The eighth one is ensure that our emergency services are being met within the community of Webster City. This goes towards both our police, fire, but also our utilities such as electric, water, and sewer utilities are part of those emergency services that are called upon, and making sure that we're planning and making investments and budgeting accordingly to replace and repair the capital items and equipment needed to make sure those departments are functioning properly. The ninth item is an ADA transition plan, and this is something that's being pushed primarily. You see it more on the transportation side funding from the federal government, but that is to review and assess, the various facilities and that tie into various right-of-ways. When they say facilities, they typically apply towards more of the sidewalks, the ADA ramps, the entrances, egress between city facilities that the city preserves. We don't offer a public transit service, so that wouldn't apply, but still moving forward, there's been an emphasis on making sure that there is a plan in place. If there is not, there is the potential of the Department of Justice doing an audit with potential ramifications, penalties associated with that. So we want to make sure we complete that. A 10th item, and this one ties to the purchasing policy, but it's just to update our procurement policy. Our procurement code and the limits that are spelled out within were last updated, I believe, and established in 1996. And since then, with the cost of inflation and what we're seeing now with the cost of goods and materials, we really need to look and update that accordingly. The other part that we may consider is to update the procurement code policy and have a different threshold for items that fall within the utilities that have a higher cost associated with those components versus departments that are in the general fund that would have a lesser cost associated with that. As part of the capital and equipment replacements that we've covered, I just talked about the AD transition plan, and we've discussed a water treatment plant a number of times over the last few months as we move forward and design that. In terms of initiatives and programs moving forward in 2022, staff development was one of the priorities that the council identified, and we've talked a lot about the organization, retirements planning, succession planning, and transitioning staff. This will look at both updating and developing standard operating procedures for all departments. We have the benefits in that we've had employees that have been here, in some cases, a number of decades. And so a lot of what they do really has become muscle memory. And so when that person leaves, a lot of that institutional knowledge just goes with them unless we properly plan for that and document some of those documented procedures or some of the day-to-day operations that they're responsible for. Succession planning is a key one that we've talked about and trying to identify how we're going to transition as more retirements occur in the future and making sure we plan for them accordingly and budget for them appropriately. And lastly, part of that is just a reorganization of city departments, really looking at, how are we providing those services, and is there a different model, method? Are there improvements that can be made? Are there changes that can be adopted to really maximize the efficiency of our operations and the services we provide? The second priority was develop a strategic plan on how to address the replacements of aging infrastructure. If you think back in the fall when Brandon addressed the council during the presentation of the pavement condition index, talked about the condition of the roads, the cost to maintain those and update those. We're in the middle right now of trying to wrap up a similar study related to electric utility that will identify the components that pertain to electric utility. Identify the different components across the distribution system and the substation that would have to be upgraded and replaced over the next 10 years. And really thinking beyond just our 5-year CIP plan, our capital improvement plan that we adopt as part of our budget process, but thinking much more broader and actually starting to define more strategically how we're going to be able to move forward and execute some of those things to address our aging infrastructure. Because as we neglect them or push them off, they only add to the list of things that need to be repaired, replaced, and the cost increases with that as well. The third one is training and development of staff. And I alluded to the water and wastewater operators, for examples, that are required to have licenses in place and have continuing education hours. But this is also thinking beyond that in terms as we look to succession planning and at times either bring on board new leaders to the organization or promote leaders from within, is looking at what it's going to entail to, one, ensure they're properly trained, have the leadership skills to be successful, and ensure that as an organization, we're adequately providing the training beyond just the required training for certifications necessary. Looking at the organizational development of the entire organization and individually among the various personnel we have in different leadership and supervisory responsible positions. The fourth one, the council had brought this up in terms of reviewing the city's agreements for trash services and recycling throughout the community. The current agreement that we have with our current trash provider dates back to 2003. That has been relatively unchanged with the exception of a fuel surcharge that was added on in 2008, and it has remained on there ever since. Some of you had expressed a desire and commentary from the public about trying to expand the level of service related to recycling, whether that be the addition of more community bins or having a greater bin for residents themselves to be able to place their recyclables, and as well as concerns of just, I guess, the lightweight of some of those recyclable materials that get easily blown away in the wind. And so that was one of the priorities that the council had set out. In terms of capital improvement projects, and this applies to purchases as well, at the last meeting, the council approved the resolution to apply ARPA funds towards the water meters and upgrading our current metering system to an AMI metering system. Just this morning, during our staff meeting, we talked about how our current metering devices and our metering software system is passed, or it's out of warranty now, would have to be needing to be upgraded in the interim as we move forward with AMI. And so just to further emphasize the need to move forward with upgrading our technology and keeping that up to date. But we talked about the AMI metering and the benefits for both the water and electric meters. Want to say that at least for this is in no way going to eliminate the need for manual meter reading for some of our commercial and larger metering, both on water and electric. There will still be the need for some of that manual reading, but as we look at just upgrading our system capability, this will go a long way in providing us data as well as providing information to customers readily available through either an app or a web portal that they can log in to monitor the usage. Second item for projects was, to continue to evaluate and promote the expansion of the Boone River Trail, our trail system within the community and as it connects throughout the region, kind of mirroring what the High Trestle Trail does for some of the communities down in the Des Moines area, and being able to be a regional draw, as well as quality of life amenity for our residents and a tourism draw for our region. And so that we've talked about that in the past, and we want to keep that on the forefront and move forward with many opportunities that come about. There is a Destination Iowa grant right now that staff's working and communicating with the county on opportunities that we can collaborate on joint projects that may fall in line and possible for trail expansion and connections within our area. The third one was street-related objectives, and this was, again, continuation of the street improvements, street infrastructure, ongoing an annual program. We just recently approved the street pavement markings as well as the crack sealing. That's part of that maintenance effort that we do on an annual basis, as well as the asphalt repair and rehab to better maintain roads. And just goes to the point of, one, trying to keep up with maintenance throughout the community of our roads. There's a variety of different benefits that can be associated with that, whether it's just a smoother driving to just an appearance standpoint from out of area residents that drive in our community and notice our well-maintained roads and that aesthetic feature. And lastly, the fourth item that the council identified for capital improvement project is the development and construction of a splash pad.
Write that down, Pat. Put that in the radio. It's a big one.
This is something obviously the council, some of you are very passionate about, and I can understand why, having young kids of my own. But the concept of a splash pad has been discussed in the past, both at the staff level, the Park and Recreation Committee, as well as the council during past budget sessions. In the past, we've contemplated a much larger project with an aquatic center that would encompass both a swimming pool and replacing of our slide. Both our pool and our slide are aging and need to be replaced or invested into in the near future. But what I heard from the council was to go in a separate direction of a standalone splash pad that would be open to the public and free for use outside of a typical swimming pool. And so what I would recommend with that is we didn't get into details as to where, how. I would advise council to allow staff to review the information, look at the costs related to both the capital investment necessary as well as the ongoing operating expenses and the different treatment requirements and systems that are available, to look at that, to come back with recommendations. I would recommend, since this is something that falls within the city's Park and Recreation Committee, we give staff 6 months to review and provide an update and let them refer back to the Park and Rec Committee with final decision as to approval coming back to the council if you so wish. I believe that those are all the items.
No, I'm proud of the list we compiled. A lot of input from city staff and department heads, and it was awesome.
All right.
We have to formally approve it.
We need to
There's a
approve it.
resolution to accept it, I think, not to approve it,
To
but
accept.
Second.
All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, 4 is reports, recommendations of officers, boards and commissions. I don't believe we have any reports.
I gave you a list of the board and commission
Yep.
applicants that we've received so far. If you can review those and you know we need to do interviews prior to the next meeting.
The attorney update, Zach isn't here tonight, so we have his letter, so. Other than that, anything else? Would you have anything else for us? Or for motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Do you have any change? You don't?